Hey, congratulations on Cursed on Netflix. It just came out a few hours ago. You must be very proud.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I still can't believe it's finally here. I'm really excited.
Hey, so tell me how you were brought on board onto this fantasy series.
Yeah, I first read the script. It was sent to me by a writer that I had worked with on another show, a writer named Bill Wheeler, who is Tom Wheeler's brother. And Tom Wheeler created the series with Frank Miller. And when they sent me the script and I read it, I just was so excited and fascinated. I thought it was so great that it was taking the Arthurian legend and doing something fresh and unique in telling the Lady of the Lake story. And I was very excited and wanted to do it right away.
Now, you directed the first two episodes of Cursed, which is I believe it's a ten episode series. How do you want to approach that? Because you have to set the tone for all the other directors and for the rest of the series.
Yeah, it was a big opportunity for me, an incredible challenge. And I love to be challenged. I was so thrilled to come on board and do the pilot and the second episode. And you need to, do everything. You need to make all the decisions, all the big macro decisions about the world building, about the visual language, and, doing all the hiring, getting all the collaborators together, and then making all the thousands of decisions that eventually end up on screen. And it's all in service of the script and the story, wanting to tell the best version of the story possible so that it brings the script to life.
You worked on multiple TV shows in the past. Did you want to go with a different approach for something like this because it has more action and more fantasy?
What's interesting? I've done so many different, genres of television, but a fantasy series like this at this scale I had not done. And it was really important for me we wanted to make a movie. We wanted to make a 10-hour movie. And with the first two episodes, we wanted to make a 2-hour movie. And we wanted it to feel, people always talk about it feeling cinematic, but we really felt that the story demanded that. It was this big epic story like Lord of the Rings, and we wanted it to feel like you were on this epic journey. And so yeah, tonally it was about doing something different than I had done before because the story just it warranted it.
Could you tell me how the using the idea of real backdrops and CGI backdrops into your experience? I think this was probably something much different, or maybe perhaps new to you, to use the countryside, but then also use CGI castles and storms and so on.
Yeah, it was an amazing kind of, again, collaboration with all the fantastic artists that worked on the show. We talked about the world, and nature was such an important element that we wanted to feel like the magic was coming from nature, and we wanted to do as much practically as we could in every way. And we wanted the magic to feel like it was part of the world. And so when we were scouting or when we were building sets and looking for locations, it was always towards an eye of how are we going to mesh, practically what we have and what VFX can augment and bring to life. And so, yeah, it was a really kind of great marriage of the two, and a brilliant opportunity to not go so crazy with the CGI that it pulled you out of the story. We wanted it to feel really organic.
I'm curious, where was the locations? Did you have to film in Britain?
Yeah, we shot in the UK, and it was a great experience. I'd never shot there before, and I love the crew, amazing talent. And yeah, it was really fantastic to get an opportunity to go and scout so many different parts of the UK.
I've watched the entire series. In fact, the funniest thing is I actually went out and got the book. I didn't read the whole book. I only read up to the parts where you filmed for the two episodes, and a lot of the scenes are in your two episodes. Could you tell me why it's very important to keep it as accurate as possible to the book?
Yeah, interestingly, the book was still in progress when we started preparation for the series. And while Tom and Frank, who created the book series and created our series, they kept saying that they were not beholden to being exactly truthful to the book. They wanted us to be able to just do what was best for the television series. And so I think it was just an organic process that a lot of what was in the book made sense to do in at least the first 2 episodes, but it was never by kind of strict design. It was never like it had to be what was in the book. So there was this nice back and forth and a really great openness to doing what was best.
You had a transition artwork basically between certain scenes, which I found it funny was because the book here, Frank Miller had transition artwork between chapters. Was that purposeful? And how do you guys develop that?
Yeah, obviously, with Frank being our creator, and he's such a, an icon and such a legend, and his work obviously speaks for itself. And we love his work and wanted to do everything to infuse Cursed with him and his style and his aesthetic. And so we had this title company that came on board to do the main title sequence. And they were inspired obviously by Frank's work and his illustrations. And when we started to see that what they were coming up with, we loved it. And we thought, well, is there a way to use it more, to use it for transitions, to use Frank's aesthetic, to use, the title sequence aesthetic. And we fell in love.
And one of the biggest thing that I do want to address and it's the scene that I really love is the village raid scene. Ever since 1917, a lot of us are obsessed with the one-take shot, and you took the approach of a one-take shot of watching Katherine Lanford run through the village with all this action and chaos. Could you talk about how you pulled that off? Was that even one take, or was that just clever editing? I mean, tell us what actually happened.
Yeah, it is one take, and we approached it with a lot of care and thought, because we kept thinking, are we crazy, like, to try and pull this off? But when I first read it, I just kept thinking, I don't want to leave Nimue. I don't want to cut away and see action, and I want to stay with her because it's through her point of view, right? It's her village, it's her life that's falling apart all around her. And so we just kept coming back to it, and we didn't want it to feel like a gimmick. We wanted it to feel like, again, organic storytelling. And there were a lot of times when we just were going to turn back around and say, this is too hard, but we just went for it. And it's one take. It's practical. She did it. And we had an insanely talented Steadicam operator who did it with her, with his crew. And we went for it.
How many rehearsal takes do you have to do before you actually finally get to that one take?
We had an amazing stunt team, and our swordsman and our horse master and our stunt coordinator. And they, we mapped it all out. We discussed it. They did many, many rehearsals before we ever got there. Then they did rehearsals on the location. Then we did rehearsals with Katherine, and then we started shooting. So yeah, it was a big undertaking.
As I'm going to start wrapping things up, because we mentioned Katherine a few times. How was it like working with her? Because she's a rising star in the industry.
She's amazing. I can't say enough beautiful things about her. She's such a huge talent. She brought this character to life in ways that I could never have imagined. I'm so grateful. And she's an amazing human, like so fun to be around, so hardworking. So we hit the jackpot with her.
And one more question before I let you go, because you have done so many genres. Now you got fantasy under your belt. You've done comic books, you've done actions, you've done dramas. What's left for you to actually direct in your life? What would you love to do?
Well, you know what? I'm so happy and grateful that I get to do all of these different genres, because I do love working on all of them, but I've never made a movie. I was a theater director before I did TV, so I'm excited to make a movie.
Well, hopefully that's down the pipeline for you. Well, hey, thank you very much. I really appreciate this conversation. Anyways, hey, hopefully that's down the pipeline for you. Hey, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I really appreciate the conversation.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
There was a little bit of delay, but don't worry about it. I'll cut that out. All right. Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye now.